committee will suspend.
Democrats are increasingly protesting their fellow Democrats as the Biden administration's support for Israel is literally shattering the left. Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot professor, here to help you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. We are seeing nothing less than a major civil war breaking out on the political left. Now, this is one of the fallouts from the deadly hostilities that have broken out between Israel and Hamas. Now, while Republican voters are overwhelmingly pro-Israel, about 80% of Republican voters back Israel's campaign against Hamas, the situation is very different when it comes to the Democrats. Astonishingly, Democrat voters are siding with the Palestinians by an 11-point margin, 49-38. There's a clear shift towards a more woke cultural Marxist paradigm of the sanctified victim, where victimhood and the binary of oppressor versus oppressed is the operative frame for your average Democrat today. A shift that's horrified loyal Democrats like Bill Maher, who simply can't even fathom why Democrats are sympathizing with Hamas. But that's exactly what's happening. And the two sides of the Democratic Party are becoming increasingly hostile to one another. You may have missed a rather inflammatory exchange between two Democratic congressmen that actually threatened to turn physical. It was between Democrat Representatives Andre Carson and Josh Gottheimer. It started with Gottheimer's Jewish. He slammed 15 Democrat colleagues who voted against a House resolution expressing support for Israel. He tweeted out that those votes were, quote, despicable, and they do not speak for our party. Well, Carson, who's Muslim, wasn't taking that sitting down. Check out how he responded on CNN.
He's cowardly. I think he's not acting in the role as a member of Congress. I think he's shown himself to be very emotional. Like most cowardly people, when you confront them, they're afraid. I'm unafraid of the guy. And if he wants to call us despicable, I'm saying he's a coward and he's a punk. And he should remember why the people sent him here. And if he wants to play some kind of tough guy or gangster, we can handle it like gentlemen and we can get into something else.
They're actually physically threatening one another. That's how bad it's gotten inside the Democratic Party. And now they're basically canceling each other. The hedge fund billionaire and Biden supporter Leon Cooperman turned heads the other day when he announced he was pulling all of his multi-million-dollar funding from Columbia University because of what he perceives as a radical anti-Israel bias infesting the campus. He actually went so far as to say that all the students there have shit for brains. In other words, they're so ideologically poisoned by cultural Marxist pro-Hamas talking points. And just to show how deep this divide runs, you may have seen the pro-Palestinian protests that shut down Grand Central Station in New York City. If you could believe it, that was a protest staged by a Jewish group, an organization called the Jewish Voice for Peace. So we're seeing this split manifest itself even inside the Jewish community. So what's really happening here? Well, what's so interesting is that if you think it through, this is hardly the first time a massive rift like this has happened inside the political left over a war. We're going to let history guide us on what we can expect to come out of the latest Democrat civil war. But first,
I'll be back.
That's right, gang. He's back. It's time to show our support and celebrate the great return by clicking on that link below and getting your very own Trumpinator 2024 bobblehead in preparation for Donald Trump's glorious reascendance to the United States presidency. This collectible bobblehead from Proud Patriots is made with the highest quality material and is really a must-have for any Trump fan who wants to send some energy towards what's shaping up to be the most glorious political comeback in history. Now, you don't want to wait here. There's just a limited number of these collectibles, and you don't want to be caught paying on much more later on eBay by someone who bought one now. So whatever you do, don't wait. Click on that link below right now and show your support for Trump 2024 today. You'll recall back in 1968 when Nixon won an electoral landslide, which preceded his 72 landslide, which was the largest margin of victory ever in an American election. But those GOP victories were preceded by a massive split in the Democratic Party over the Vietnam War. It was actually JFK who first dispatched American troops to Vietnam in the early 60s. But when Johnson took over hours after Kennedy's assassination, he eventually decided on conscription, on a draft to increase the troop levels in Vietnam, which of course hit over 500,000. Johnson actually thought drafting college-age men was better than sending reservists, since most of them were married and employed. Now, obviously, we know that that draft was met with a massive backlash on college campuses all throughout the nation and helped stoke left-wing radicalism in our nation's universities that actually originally turned against the Democrat Party. And the parallels to today are very interesting. Fox News has found that young voters are increasingly concerned over Biden reinstating a national draft to fight all these wars that are erupting around the world. Again, it's not an issue of Biden actually planning on instituting a draft. It's the perception that he could that's concerning many college-age students. And so this is one of the reasons why Trump is doing so well against Biden among the 30 and under vote. According to the latest Emerson polling, Trump is beating Biden 45-43, even though the under 30 vote voted for Biden by 65% in 2020. And back then, during the Vietnam era, the student protests translated into a fracturing of the party leadership, where anti-war doves like McGovern started rising up and openly challenging their pro-Vietnam hawks that were embedded in the Democrat establishment. So they actually changed their primary system from the backdoor dealing by establishment figures to an open primary to include the more left-wing anti-war grassroots. And as you know, the Democrat Party, for the exception of the single term of Jimmy Carter, they were in a political wasteland, at least when it came to presidential politics, for years because of this rift between the pro-war hawks and the anti-war doves. I think we're seeing something comparable happening right now with the Democratic Party in this massive rift between pro-Palestinian sentiments and pro-Israel, pro-military intervention sentiments. There's a very real split happening on the political left, comparable to what we saw with Vietnam. And if history is our guide here, this does not bode well for the Democrats for 2024 and very possibly even far beyond.
Hey gang, I know what it's like to feel alone out there in these turbulent times, but I broke free. If you too have been looking for a community with like-minded patriots who are serious about resisting globalism, building a parallel economy, and having intelligent and deep fellowship on a regular basis, then you've come to the right place. In my Courageous Patriot Insiders community, we're building a close-knit movement of, by, and for patriots who are breaking free from the outrage and despair cycles of the mainstream media and taking on the fight against globalism. Every week, I deep dive into the content I can't share on big tech and give you the cliff notes on the truth of how patriots just like you are building up their communities, starting patriot businesses, and fighting the woke in both public and private. All with a few history and political lessons from yours truly, of course. If you want to stop feeling alone as a patriot and stand together with this fast-growing community, be sure to click on the link in the description below. Don't wait. Join me and my Patriot Coalition today, and let's get fighting.